Hello and welcome to The Wilderness of Creativity, a platform for creatives and aspiring entrepreneurs to share their stories of survival. I'm your host, Lucy, and I'm so excited to share this creative journey with you. Working full-time and raising a small human has caused me to lose track and wander off-piste on several occasions, but I followed the signs and here we are, surviving the wild and feeling more connected and inspired than ever before. Whether you're a seasoned adventurer or just starting out, I'm here to cheer you on as you navigate this journey. Together, we will uncover practical tips and strategies for cultivating creativity, explore different ways of prioritising our creative energy when there are people to please and deadlines to meet. And we'll also discuss how we can foster a mindset that inspires connection, innovation and play in our daily lives. Tune in every month to hear how my guests find focus in a world that never stops buzzing and discover what it really means to take the road less travelled. Subscribe now to listen to the Wilderness of Creativity and remember to like, share and leave a review to show your support. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram, so come and join in with our conversations. And that's it. Welcome to your next adventure. Hello and welcome to another episode of The Wilderness of Creativity. In this episode, I have the pleasure of talking to Nisha, the founder of Canvas Creations. As a recruitment executive by day, she is an artist at heart. And in this episode, we discuss the journey of rediscovering her creativity and we explore the importance of tapping into that inner child and those deep desires to create. This year, Nisha decided to make it her year and she is advocating for herself and showcasing her work at different events throughout the UK. I cannot wait to share this episode with you, so let's get to the episode. I'm just going to pick up very quickly on the fact that you had some markets coming up. Do you want to talk a little bit first of all about the markets because they sound really exciting?
Absolutely. So this year was my go for the markets year and say yes to whatever opportunities I could. So the next one coming up actually is in Canary Wharf. It's called Urban Garden and I'm doing 2 dates. So I'm doing the 3rd of August, which is a Saturday, and the 5th of October. I needed the gap to heads down and get product making. So I'm in the middle of making coasters, my mosaic ones, and it'll be a whole day thing for anyone to come down, check it out, see some of my products. So yeah, I'm really excited for the market.
How did those kind of 2 events come about then?
So I've been following a lot more pages on my Instagram, and I've been sort of putting my best foot forward and just reaching out and applying. And when you click on some of their pages, they have the application forms, and I've just been going for it and applying for as many as I can. I did apply for one at Sky Garden, but they've had so many applications. So yeah, it's just whatever opportunities there are, I'm kind of constantly on Instagram looking. And then through other creatives, I'm seeing who they follow and who they market with and just going for it, really.
It really is a case of who you know, isn't it? And those connections that you build. Why this year? Why have you kind of made this year the year to get out and showcase your work? Like, obviously there's a growth in confidence there. So where's that coming from?
It's a good question. I think I've been selling my artwork and getting sort of bespoke orders online and through Instagram. But over time, I've racked up so many products. It's crazy. I've got candle holders, bookmarks. I've got some artwork. I've got coasters. And I have so much. And I just wanted a way to sort of showcase my products, sell some of them as well. And also, I just like the aspect of connecting with people and talking when you meet them, sharing my story with them, and also learning what people like and don't like. So it helps me to then make products accordingly so that the next time I'm out in a market or I'm talking to someone, it's kind of like, yeah, I make those too because someone mentioned it. So, and I don't know, I just wanted to say yes to a lot more things this year. I think maybe my last year in my 20s, I'm like, sod it, I'm just gonna do everything I can. Um,
Brilliant.
so I think that's what inspired it this year, and I just learnt loads. Really, it's been great.
You get to a point where you think, actually, I need to advocate for myself and for my work. If we kind of rewind a little bit, like, where did your journey start? How did you get into art? Have you always been involved on being creative as a kid?
Yeah, I think that you hit the nail on the head there. I think I've always, as far as back I can remember, I've always been creative. So cutting, sticking things, scrapbooking. I'd have happy birthday cards or celebration cards, and I'll cut them all up and I'll stick them wherever I can and make something out of it. And then as I was growing up, and you get birthday presents and gifts, people will give creative things. And I've grown up in a household that's really creative with DIY, with sort of fashion design, also writing that comes into play with like sort of the wording that I use on Instagram. But I think I've always been, as a child, really creative and just making things, and I have an idea and I'll go for it. I would be called the squirrel of the house because I'm always squirreling around, and I'm digging around somewhere to find
I
something.
love that.
Um, I'm still doing it now, and it feels like I'm a 4 year old around the house, just like doing messy things and making things, and it's just so much fun. But I lost it. I lost that creativity for a long while. I
Mm,
think naturally, post school and uni, and finding like a job, not really knowing what I wanted to do. I've kind of done a lot of different things
mm,
in the corporate world, and then I think there came a point where I was at a really low point. Job wasn't going well. I kind of had a bit of a life break,
mm,
and things like in my personal life wasn't going so well. Like a breakup that sort of really impacted me, my self confidence. Things with friends and colleagues, they weren't also going well. So it all kind of came at once. And I had a massive life break, good couple of months, and I won't lie that it was the darkest point that I've been at. And I think there was one point where I just really was done. I was like, what's the point? I don't know what I'm doing. I don't belong here.
mm,
Let's just be done with. And then I've had like connections with like people throughout the years and stuff. And this person kind of came to me really randomly through Instagram. We were talking and sort of sent me some guided meditation video link as a way of like kind of introducing me to reconnecting with my inner child
mm,
without being too sort of forward with it. It was just like out of curiosity to help me. So we were talking one evening and he sent it and I clicked on it as a curious person would, clicked on it and I put the meditation in and it really does make you think about your 3 year old self, almost like you're visualizing that person. And I have a photo in my house where I've got this really cute little bob and a fringe, and I'm like 3 year old, like my 3 year old self. And I pictured her, and I started crying, like massively crying.
oh,
And I woke up the next day, and I was just like, okay, you know what? This could be like a redo, a restart, because when you picture your little self, you're kind of like, no, no,
mm,
don't do that, stop. And then for some reason I was just reconnected to wanting to paint. Something in my head was like, I just want to paint. I
mm,
just want to paint on a piece of paper. And I had this unopened pack of acrylics, which was my mum's. She was being creative, and I opened it. It's been closed for years, and I opened it, and I literally spent the whole day that day painting this Buddha, and I just felt alive. I just felt like something just clicked again, and it was the best feeling ever. And I had no idea what I was going to do after that, but I knew I just wanted to paint and keep doing that. And then since there, I've not really stopped. YouTube's been my best friend to like figure some other stuff
yeah.
out, and then slowly, I've kind of been trying different things, different mediums, learning new skills. And that's what sort of built my artwork and
Mm.
page. And then eventually I turned it into a business for people to want to purchase if they wanted to.
It's really interesting that you also say that you used your creativity or you reconnected with your creativity when you were the lowest in your life.
Mm.
And the question that I'm trying to answer and kind of explore with my guests is whether or not creativity is a luxury or whether it is indeed a necessity for life. What's your take on that?
I think we're all creative beings. I think we all have something in us that is creative, that is unique to us. So I think, yeah, I agree with you in the sense of now it's become my necessity. Like, I think it is a need, and the more I talk to people through having done sort of my own like reels and sharing my story and the podcast and obviously talking to you, people have then mentioned that they've tapped into something that's creative and has been there with them since they were younger. And I think it's a need for me. Like, if I'm feeling low, it's my way of expressing and sort of dealing with the anxieties and the emotions. It's kind of the only way I know. And I think until people learn to sort of reconnect back to what do they enjoy when they were younger, whether it's picking up a camera and just taking photos and loving that, or picking up a canvas and some paints and doing that, or just something to express yourself. I think it is a need, 100%.
I can't remember where I heard it, but the phrase is the opposite of depression is expression. So have you heard of that as well?
Yes. And I completely agree with it. And I love that expression because I just feel it's so true to what it says. And also, a part of me sharing and sort of connecting with similar people is I think men also struggle, I think, in terms of expressing themselves. And I want them to be able to feel safe to do that. So, yeah, I do think expressing yourself and speaking your truth and being vulnerable is just the best way to be. And it's scary. It is so scary. But if we can set an example for that and know that people can feel safe to do that, then, we'll be helping a lot of people. And I think that's the main goal for me.
Creating that safe space. And you mentioned briefly just now that your mum is very creative and that you're surrounded by people in your family who are also creative, and growing up with that is just so inspiring, isn't it?
Yeah, honestly, hands down to them. They've always encouraged our creativity. Like, they'll just let us be and make whatever. We've got DIY guru at home, and mum's a fashion designer, so like she's like always sewing and making things, and you just see the spark that everyone gets when they're creating, and it's just like idea after idea, or you get from nothing to a product, and that in between journey is just so nice to unfold and see. And I think it's definitely a massive part of our family. And yeah, I'm quite grateful for them, to be honest. And they're really supportive of my artwork, and they're always trying to promote my stuff, or they'll support me at market. So I really have to hands down to them. They've never stopped me from being my creative self, and I don't think I ever will be.
No. And it's so lovely, isn't it, when you do feel supported by your family? Because a lot of children don't get that. There's a very, very clear path.
I definitely had comments at one point, which was hard to push through, was just like, keep the creativity in your art selling stuff on the side. And I appreciate where people come from because they want the best for you. They're trying to look out for you. So obviously having that plan B of the job and like that security, absolutely. And I do love what I do full time. It's sort of another way to connect with people, so I've managed to figure out what works for me. But I think there have been comments as a creative, and I'm not sure whether you get the same, but it's just like, keep it on the side because it is a tough industry, and like, you don't know if you're going to break into it and how successful it's going to be. It's hard work. But I think as a creative, you kind of take that as a challenge to be like, you know what, I'll take it and I'm going to keep going with it and I will prove you wrong.
Absolutely.
And yeah, it's that's definitely been the driver for me, is to keep pushing out of that comfort zone, to be honest.
So how have you managed to get a balance between working full-time and being a creative? Because I would love to know. Because goodness knows what I'm going to be like come September when I go back into teaching full-time again.
I think my weekends and after work, I have really good boundaries when it comes to finishing work on time and then utilizing my time for me to prioritize what I need, whether it's to do some artwork for a couple of hours and zone out, shut people off and do what I need to, especially if I've got orders to get done by a certain deadline. I really just need to sort of put those boundaries in place and say no to things, not people please so much. But I'm grateful for the flexibility I get from work. They're really supportive in terms of like our core hours, but then after that, like, they're really respectful, so I can get stuff done after work and mainly weekends. But I guess, I don't know, maybe being a Libra helps.
I knew that you were going to say Libra for some reason. See, do you know what I am? Could you guess what
Are
I
you a
am?
Gemini?
I'm not a Gemini. People confuse me with Gemini. I'm an Aquarius.
Ah, another air sign. Ah, yes,
So, yeah, so is it in recruitment? Are you in
I
recruitment? Have I read
am.
that wrong? You are. Okay. Like, what sort of skills do you think you take from that job and apply to like your creative process or the way that you network when you're at these markets, like, and build those connections? Because I think that's part and parcel of finding that balance as well, isn't it? It's kind of like that crossover.
Yeah. I think the main thing is being a good listener, like an active listener. And I think being able to ask the right questions to connect. And I love asking questions, maybe too many sometimes, and people just want me to stop. But that curiosity to want to investigate about someone, not in an like a intrusive way, but more just curiosity to find out who you're talking to, what their story is, what it is they
Mm-hmm.
want, and actively listen to then ask questions based on what they've said, because I feel like we can be quite surface, and for me that's quite draining. So there's only so much conversation I can stay up above the surface of water until I need depth to then feel connection and feel like it's not draining me.
Preaching to the choir.
This is probably why you do what you do, because you get deeper and you're vulnerable and you actually get to know people.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those skills helps me when I'm speaking to people at markets and understanding them and sharing my story. And then I think another thing is being empathetic, being able to put myself in those people's shoes, especially when I'm creating a bespoke artwork for them. I need to understand what that painting means to them. Where does it come from? What's the connection? So those things, just being a good listener and being empathetic really has kind of gives me the balance between work and my creative side.
So, as a recruitment executive, you know, you are seeing the story from beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah, I think it's the blank canvas, then you've got the finished product, and the in between is all sort of a mix of like ideas and conversations and getting to know people, and then, general feedback at the end. I think I get feedback on my artwork, and I get feedback, or I give feedback to candidates, and vice versa. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's now that I think about it like this, it does quite kind of complement each other. It's clever. I like what you've done there.
No, because I was thinking about the same for teaching and podcasting, because I was thinking, well, how does this relate? Like, why am I doing this? I mean, I know why, but like, what are the similarities? Because I think that really helps if you have got a full-time job and you're trying to balance that with a creative venture. You know, finding those common skills. A lot of the time, people think that teaching is about talking, but it's not. Teaching is about it's about listening and creating an environment for learning to happen. So, and then I was thinking, well, that's what podcasting is. It's about creating an environment for my guest to shine.
Do you think we've naturally kind of gone into aspects of work where it naturally feels like us anyway?
I mean, I love teaching. I mean, I couldn't do anything else. I think I've said it in the last couple of episodes, but I absolutely love being in a space with children. Their joy, you know, their willingness to think outside the box and to get things wrong. And they make me laugh. You know, they actually make me laugh and make me smile and bring so much energy. And I get to be a kid again. And it's interesting that you talked a little bit about the inner child and the nurturing that you've had to do for young Nisha, to kind of get her where she needs to be now.
Yeah, every
It's
time I'm
interesting, isn't
creating,
it?
I just picture me, that little child, painting or doing something. Even today, doing a little bit of scrapbooking after work and cutting and sticking things. I literally, if I had the photo to show you, I'd literally picture my little self just doing
Oh,
it. And I get comments as well from my parents being like, you used to do that when you were younger. Or you remind me of like when you were this years old, when you were like making something. And that to me is the biggest thing, is I feel like I've honored my little child and been like, I protected her, I've saved her, and she's here for a reason. So yeah, I do get a bit emotional talking about it, because it's sad to think that it would have been a completely different story. So yeah, it is nice, 100%.
And emotion's okay. I think it's so important to feel that emotion and to really recognize and acknowledge where you've been,
Yeah.
and how far you've come through the wilderness, and the people that have been there to see you through it. But ultimately, you have done that. You have cultivated what you have needed to get yourself where you are now. So, you should be really proud of yourself.
Thank you. I am really proud of myself. And I think as a creative, I don't know if you find this as well, but you kind of have to be your own best friend. Like any little thing you've achieved, or even if you're going through a challenge and you're like, how am I going to get through this? You kind of almost talk to yourself as if you're talking to your best friend, being like, you got this, you can keep doing it, you are talented. And sometimes that imposter syndrome or self doubt comes in. But I think as you train your mind to be a bit more positive and sort of reassure yourself, like, you just have to be your own best friend. And I'm sure you find the same, like when you're having those moments.
So, because you do acrylics, you do resins.
I do resin, so I do epoxy resin, and I do another form of resin, which is like concrete resins. It's biodegradable, and that's a new product I've been using recently. Just curiosity, I wanted to try a new product. Those are my main things, and I have done a live wedding event as well.
I saw. Was it the fingerprints?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that looks amazing. Tell me about that.
So one of my friends is getting married, and there was this thing going around on Instagram where you paint this tree, and it's basically a tree of life, and every guest puts their fingerprint on the tree. And honestly, the people that were getting married, my friend, they were the loveliest people. So we went through the whole process of designing the tree, designing the size of the canvas and how they wanted the day. And then when the day came, it was just so nice to see everyone, all different generations, putting their fingerprint, picking the color they wanted, from kids to like older people, like the same level of joy that they had. It was just amazing. And like after you see the tree come to life, and then I took it home and sort of made it into a blossom tree and finished it off and everything. But oh my God, it's just, there was no limit to that creative day. Like everyone was just happy, and it was really fun. And it was my first event. Hopefully there's more to come. But another thing I just wanted to challenge myself on and really go for it, and make it special for them as well. So it's now in
Yeah.
pride of place in their home somewhere.
How lovely. I think that's a great idea. I would love something like that.
I can make that happen for you.
Yeah. What a lovely memory as well for everybody.
I know. Even just the curiosity around the room, like, what's that? What do we do? How does this work? And I'm like, just give it a
Yeah.
go. You just don't know.
So hopefully that's going to become something else that you offer as part of your business. So, everybody can watch that space. Out of the other things that you're sort of exploring, what's your favorite thing to make?
Oh, that is a good question. I really love my resin seascapes.
They are stunning.
Oh, I'm glad you like. Well, maybe I'll do you a piece. Um, they're just so real and lifelike. And who doesn't love being by the ocean? I get to use real materials and sand and rocks, and it's a huge process. It takes me a while to make because the resin takes a lot longer to dry. So it's a good couple of days, and like I have to set the temperature, so I can't do it during the
Ah,
summertime. It's always in the wintertime. Yeah, it's one of my favorites. I think I would never get bored of doing the ocean seascapes at all.
no. So if people want to see the ocean seascapes, where can they find you? Like, where can they see this lovely work that you're creating?
Mainly at my markets, really, which the next pop-up will be in the link in my bio. I'll share it on my story as well in terms of what dates I'm going to be there. I did have a website, but I need to revamp it slightly and update it, so it's kind of off at the moment, but I will be live hopefully in the next couple of weeks, depending on timelines. Other than that, just check out my page and it will be there, and I can do bespoke orders as well, so colors and things like that.
Talk me. I've never created a resin. piece of artwork. I've no idea how that would work. Could you talk me through the process?
Absolutely. So basically, resin, for those who don't know, is like a DIY product that people use to level flooring and level surfaces. Um, and then I use this resin, this particular brand, with various sort of powders and colors to create like different color spectrums that I can use. And basically, you've got a part A and a part B, and you mix them together for about 3 minutes. You really have to be careful because there's a chemical. You need all the safety kit. You need like the face mask. You need all the PPE stuff, and you need a temperature that's about 18 degrees. So that's why I don't do it in the summertime because it won't dry. You mix them together, add your colors in and everything, and then you have once it's mixed, you have about half an hour, 40 minutes of playtime to get your product made for it to start curing. And that initial cure is about 24 hours. So once it starts getting really gloopy and thick, you can't really do anything with it. Leave 24 hours, cover it, come back the next day, and it is touch dry, so it almost feels like glass.
Right.
And then with my seascapes, because I do layers to create different waves, and sort of the crashing waves and stuff,
Mm.
I have to do another layer. So that's another 24 hours in playtime I have to use. So yeah, it's really complex. But once you get used to it, it's an amazing thing you can create. And I do other things as well with resin. I make bookmarks and put them in molds, and 24 hours it's done. You pop them up and they're ready, as well as my candle holders. So yeah, but there are quick dry resins as well, that you put under a UV lamp. So if you're making things like keychains or small items, earrings, for example, you can use a UV resin, and it'll be done in minutes. So there's
Amazing.
options for anyone who wants to try.
Did you go to university to kind of study art?
I wish. I think going back, I would have loved to study art, but I did law. I know, right? I did law. I am working in a law firm, which is great. But yeah, I kind of explored legal side. I loved uni. It was like my best years. But I'm not doing anything legal right now.
So you're completely self-taught.
Yeah, YouTube's been my best friend, and just
Wow.
experimenting, not being afraid to fail as well. Because I've started to like the products that I'd never liked before,
Mm.
because let it sit in my house and just keep staring at it. I'm like, okay, maybe I do like it now. And then the markets, when I'm talking to people, things I don't like, people like. So I'm like, there's a message in that somewhere.
I think it's funny use that word message because I'm a massive believer in messaging and signs and, the whole universe, gearing up to something.
I think the synchronicities and the angel numbers that come about, that you're like, hey, I've just seen 1111. I mean, that could
Yeah,
be lucky. It could be pushing me, and giving me a sign for something. I am a massive believer in that too, and I'm quite spiritual in that sense. So I've
yeah.
kind of just let go and just going and seeing what happens, and just being grateful. I think gratitude as a creative is massive, and it is a massive driver for me to just keep going. What am I grateful for? Who am I grateful for? And yeah, I believe in that too.
Gratitude for sure. I mean, I remember when I was having a really, really bad time. And my friend gave me a journal and she said, this is going to be your gratitude journal. And down one side, you write down 10 things that you love about yourself.
Mhm.
And on the other side, you're going to write down 3 things that you notice over the course of the week. The first few weeks I did it, I couldn't think of 10 things. That disconnect, we are just often just wandering, going through the motions until somebody says, you need to stop. Just take a moment, get off this path, take your shoes off, have a sit down, and like reevaluate and kind of come back to what's important more than anything. I think the last couple of years has certainly been sort of reconnecting with and realigning myself with my values. Have you found that as well as you've started to move forward?
Over the last couple of years, I really affirmed what my values are, and I'm not willing to sort of negotiate on them anymore. I think growing up as a people pleaser as well, not knowing who I am, not having boundaries, now knowing what I value is so important and is a massive driver to like keep my peace and be able to be less anxious about things, be less worried about things. Because I think the more you value yourself and you know what you value, you start aligning with the right people who value similar things or who respect your values. And I think once I stepped away from people who didn't respect me and what I value, things shifted massively and I feel a lot lighter for it. So yeah, I have my journal too, and I've got my 5 core values, and then I've got another wheel of values outside of that. But yeah, they're so important.
That's great advice for somebody who's listening as well, that, you know, maybe needs to kind of reconnect with their values or is a little bit unsure about whether they're in the right place, if they're kind of surrounded by the right people. You know, just do check in with your values, do check in and make sure that, you know, you're where you need to be, and make changes if you need to.
I know a lot of people can be a bit stuck on like where to start or how do they figure out what their values are, how do they figure out who they are and what they like. And I think, yeah, these platforms are great in a way to as like an example of what we can do or how we can reconnect to those values. So example values for anyone listening that doesn't know what value they have is things like I value honesty, I value respect, I value loyalty in my friends and family and things that I'm doing, consistency. So these examples, if we can use these platforms to help people, it gets them like thinking and it might spark something for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any rituals that you do before or after you're about to be creative or after you've finished a project?
So I have my morning routine, and that usually consists of a nice walk in nature. So I've got a massive park near the end of my road, and I go and I do my rounds because walking in a circle for some reason around the park is really therapeutic. And they say your eye movement going left and right is a way for your brain to process information and it brings out your creative side. So I do that, and I'll do deep breathing in the park. To get all the oxygen and connect with nature. And then I come back and I'll do some of my yoga exercises. I absolutely love yoga, and it's helped me connect to myself and bring out that feminine energy and, you know, feel really good about myself. And then I will have the energy to start something. And music helps. Whatever mood I'm in, put that on, have a dance around the house, and you're off.
What do you listen to?
Anything with the lyrics that hit me, I'll listen to, but I'm more of an Afrobeats kind of girl.
For me, for my nervous system, I need to move.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's the only way that I can shake anything off.
Apart from dancing, do you do any other forms of movement that helps you?
Yeah, I practice yoga. It's been a good 20 years now that I've practiced yoga.
They say yoga finds you.
I'm a massive believer in that. I think a lot of things find us, to be honest. In my last post, I was like, you know, started this idea of the podcast, and, you know, I questioned, you know, whether the wilderness had found me. I don't know. It's interesting, but I think staying open-minded and being curious, I think, is curiosity is one of my values. It's super important to me.
Have you ever wanted to go beyond the therapist's waiting room to find out what happens in counselling sessions? Join me on This Won't Fix You, where I take you into a library of interesting therapy-inspired ways to help you understand and maybe even marvel at what it is to be human. From our yearnings and motivations through to our frustrations and the patterns that block us as we muddle through life. I'm your host, Nadine Pittham, and on this show we talk about metaphors, models and images discovered or manifested through my work as an accredited psychotherapist. Each episode of This Won't Fix You has 2 branches. First, a 30 to 40 minute conversation between me and another qualified professional, which introduces and discusses the theory or idea in the spotlight. We call this the A-side. And then the B-side, where it's just you and me, and we go on a deeper exploration of that theory or idea from a more intimate, more therapeutic standpoint. While the show won't fix your problems, it will give you a better insight into how we live, think and feel. So maybe you want to hear about how kids' films like Frozen are essentially metaphors rooted in counselling theory. Or perhaps you want to make your sex life better by imagining your genitals and your brain going out to dinner together. Or maybe you just love chatting about stuff like shame or death. If that sounds like you, then go to the podcast app of your choice and subscribe to or follow the show. You can also visit our Facebook page or our website at thiswon'tfixyou.com. See you soon.
definitely do the You've Got This cards. Have you heard of the cards that I do with my guests? We'll definitely do those for sure. So is the morning your best time to work, or do you kind of?
Yes, I'm normally a morning person anyway. I just love the energy at certain times in the morning. Apparently, they say between sort of 5 and 7 in the morning is like the best time to sort of manifest and just reconnect with nature and be up. So I'm a morning person. But weirdly enough, when I'm creating, I do like the darkness and the nighttime and that quiet aspect too. I think there's two polar opposite quiet times in the day, one really early and one in the like late at night. And I think because I'm born in like autumn time, it's dark, and my name actually means night. So
Does it?
yeah, I feel
Oh,
like a lot of my
lovely.
creativity also comes out in the evening and nighttime, and I just feel like I'm in pure solitude. And last night's full
Mm.
moon, just staring at it and feeling connected, like it was beautiful. I don't know if you saw it; it was stunning.
I didn't see it, but I certainly felt it.
Yeah, feel the energy.
Um, I could feel the energy. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Because I'm definitely a morning person. I'm up at sort of 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm so productive during those early morning hours. But then, with kind of working full time, having my little boy, I'm finding that I'm staying up a little bit later now as well. So I'm like you. I find solitude and kind of my productivity at either end of the day. During the day is just no good for me at all. I'm just so busy with, either work or parenting or whatever it is I'm doing. So yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because everyone has their own kind of preferred time to work.
I think that's the beauty of like knowing yourself and what feels right is also what times of day that works best for you. And it's nice when someone else can be like, this is my preferred time of day because X, Y, and Z, and it's just reconnecting to yourself like you mentioned earlier. So it's really nice.
And I think also as well, there's a real we tend to compare ourselves a lot anyway. You don't have to be a creative as such to compare yourself. There's a lot of that out there. But if you know that, some people are working during the morning, some people are finding time in the evenings, some people work really well during the day. I think it's about finding what works for you. Like whatever your process is, whatever time of day works for you, stick with that and, embrace it for what it is. I think that's really important.
I think for people who aren't sure of when that is try all of the times in the day and then you'll figure out from there. But it just makes a difference, doesn't it, when you can be productive in those
Yeah,
times?
because you can kind of find your flow. That's what it's about.
Yes. Love a flow.
Oh,
Don't interrupt my flow.
oh gosh, the love of flow. Um,
Have you ever had that where like you're in your flow and then something or someone interrupts you and then that's it, you
oh
can't
yeah,
get back into it and you have to wait
yeah,
till the next day or something?
every day. Have you got any commissions that you're really excited about, sort of getting involved in and finishing, or any projects that are coming up?
At the moment, no. I think the commissions have been quiet, but that's okay because I feel like the next couple of months, my life is a bit busy with other things and travel and, my big 30th as well in October. So I'm okay at the moment. But if they come about, of course, like I put so much love and attention to it and I get excited. But I think for now, I'm okay and I'm just focusing on making my products for the markets. And then once that's done, who knows? There might be an opportunity or another wedding. Who knows?
Well, yeah. And what are you doing for your 30th?
That's a good question. So I'm going to see Mo Gilligan on my actual birthday, which have a laugh, be nice and fun. And then I've got little pockets of things I'm doing with my closest friends. I think I had a group thing in mind, and then I realized I'm not that kind of person. I would rather the quality time individually with my best friends. And then I'm off to New Zealand in December for a couple of weeks.
Oh my goodness, that sounds exciting. Do you have family over there, or?
My aunt and my cousins there, so I'm going to spend Christmas, New Year out there with them, and that was my big birthday treat to myself, is to go to the other side of the world and explore. So yeah, it's just I'm excited to travel a little bit.
That sounds amazing. And I think traveling and seeing other parts of the world and, being immersed in new cultures, I think that's so inspiring.
Always, you come away with something, whether it's, I don't know, some sand from Portugal that I put in artwork or something.
Yeah,
But yeah,
exactly. Yeah, for sure. It's so important. I love going away and, new energy, new ideas. It's you can't well, you can buy it. You have to buy the ticket, but it's invaluable, really. So we'll do the last thing we will do is the you've got this card. Is
yeah,
that okay?
absolutely.
Cool. What I asked you about actually is the refuge coffee.
So my friend, I've known him for about 12, 13 years. We went to school together, and he's just an amazing human being, just so humble, and he really pushes himself outside of his comfort zone. So things like doing things on his own, joining like various sports teams, going to the gym and practicing yoga. I think yoga as a man and that stretching and flexibility is scary, and doing it in the gym where people are watching, technically they're not watching you, but they're around. It's you get self-conscious, and I really love and admire his sort of get up and go attitude. And so basically Refugee Coffee is a community thing. They set it up a couple of years back, just as a way to connect with people and have a space to chat. They've got a really lovely like area where you can sit on a bench. On my live I sort of did a little run through. There's a nice bench and table where people can chat, bring their dogs. And having gone a couple of times and seeing the locals there, they love it. And just the things they talk about, it's like someone on their daily walk to come and say hello. And, it stops you from being lonely as well, because I think working from home and the environment that we're in at the moment can be quite lonely. So, yeah, he's just done a beautiful thing. It's also family run. So, yeah, he's just an amazing human and sort of inspires me. And
Yeah. I thought you were very brave to do a live at 8 o'clock in the morning.
I know. I was so nervous, and he was brilliant. I was like, you know what? This is what happens when you get out your comfort zone. Is you come away feeling really like proud of yourself, and like if you can, I think my mission is also just to support other people like yourself, and just to inspire and see if someone in that morning watching could be like, what can I do outside my comfort zone? Or what should I think about today?
Exactly.
So yeah, that was fun, and that was before I had my coffee, so it was good.
I know you said. I was like, that's very impressive. I definitely need at least 3 cups of tea before I do a live.
Well, yeah,
No, but I think it's that community feel, isn't it? It's so important.
yeah, we need it. It's a necessity for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So these are the cards. Pure cheese, to be fair. But I love a bit of cheese. Okay. So the card that's come up for you is you are kind, clever, and brave.
Oh, I love that. Thank you.
Isn't that lovely?
That's so cute. Yeah, I'm going to put that in my journal this evening.
You should do. You are kind, you're clever, and you're brave. And you are.
Thank you. And so are you. Thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate it. I love your page. I love your podcast. And you are a great human. And it was so nice just to see you today, actually. Yeah. It makes all the difference. So I really appreciate you giving me this platform to chat today. So thank you.
Thank you.